Have you ever heard of a scam artist so audacious that he sold the Eiffel Tower not once, but twice? Meet Count Victor Lustig, the notorious con artist from Austria-Hungary, who made a career out of scamming people across Europe and the United States during the early 20th century. Victor Lustig was born in Hostinné, Bohemia, Austria-Hungary. He was always a quick learner. His quick wit and ability to size up situations made him a natural fit for a life of crime. At just 19 years old, he found himself in Paris with nothing but time on his hands and an urge to gamble. It was here that he got into a brawl with a jealous lover, leaving him with a scar that would later define his appearance and reputation as a man not to be trifled with. With his fluency in several languages, Lustig embarked on a career in conning people that would eventually transform him into a professional con man. Many of his initial cons were committed on ocean liners sailing between France and New York City. He posed as a musical producer and convinced them to invest in a non-existent Broadway production. It was the perfect scam. After all, who wouldn't want a piece of the bright lights of Broadway? As the services of transatlantic liners were suspended in the wake of World War I, Lustig had to find new ways to make a quick buck. He conned banks out of their money, sold fake bonds, and even managed to steal from notorious gangsters. One of his scams involved a small wooden box that was said to contain a large amount of cash. Lustig would convince his mark that the box was created by a wealthy Romanian inventor who had to flee the country due to political turmoil. The inventor allegedly used a secret formula that allowed the box to duplicate any paper currency placed inside it. Of course, the box was nothing more than an empty prop. He would demonstrate its powers by placing a genuine bill inside and turning a handle to create two perfect copies. The victim would then be persuaded to buy the box for an exorbitant sum of money, usually between $10,000 to $30,000. Once the victim paid the money, he would quickly disappear, leaving them with nothing but an empty box. He successfully sold the Romanian box to at least 7 different people before the police caught up with him. He was arrested, but even then, he managed to talk his way out of jail by convincing the police that he was a government agent. He was released, but soon returned to his life of crime. He needed a lot of money because in 1919, Lustig married an innocent Kansas girl and started a family. He also began a long-term affair with a millionaire madam in New York named Billie Mae Schiebel. And here comes his most audacious scheme that would earn him his infamous nickname. In 1925, Lustig arrived in Paris and set his sights on selling the Eiffel Tower. It may sound crazy now, but at the time, the tower was already 36 years old and many Parisians were clamoring for it to be removed. He, posing as a government official, sent letters to 6 scrap metal dealers, inviting them to a secret meeting to discuss the removal of the landmark. He convinced them that absolute secrecy was necessary to avoid a public uproar. Once at the meeting, he charmed the dealers and took them on a private tour of the tower. He then invited them to submit sealed bids the next day. One eager dealer, André Poisson, was especially keen to win the contract and paid Lustig $70,000 in cash, which is worth over $1 million today, to purchase the tower, and he walks away with around 70,000 francs. He promptly left Paris and was on a train to Vienna within an hour. And to add insult to injury, a month later he tried the same scam again. But this time, a dealer smelled a rat and alerted the police. He fled to America, armed with dozens of fake passports and IDs, and continued to charm his way through one con job after another. Despite his past successes, his criminal career came to an end when he attempted a risky scam aimed at none other than the infamous Al Capone during the Great Depression. Knowing that he could be killed if caught, he hatched a plan to get Capone to part with a small amount of cash by posing as an honest man. He asked Capone to invest $50,000 in a fraudulent scheme, but then kept the money in a safe deposit box for 2 months before returning it, claiming the deal had fallen through. He convinced Capone to give him $5,000 more to tide him over, which he had planned all along. After this scheme, he went into a partnership to conduct a large-scale counterfeiting operation, which managed to inject thousands of dollars of fake money into the U.S. economy for the next 5 years. He was still carrying on his affair with high-priced Madam Billy May, until he put the moves on Shaw's mistress, who promptly told Billy May. The enraged Madam went to the police and spilled the beans in order to take revenge from him. She tipped off the federal authorities, leading to his arrest in 1935. He managed to escape from prison the day before his trial, but was recaptured 27 days later in Pittsburgh. He pleaded guilty at his trial and was sentenced to 15 years in prison on Alcatraz Island, with a further 5 years for his prison escape. He contracted pneumonia and died in 1947 at the Medical Center for Federal Prisons in Springfield, Missouri. His occupation was listed as an apprentice salesman on his death certificate. Who knows what he could have achieved if he had put his talents to more honest pursuits?